Hello, and welcome back to Simple Steps to Healthier, More Balanced Living. I'm your host, Certified Health and Life Coach, Kathy Warrens, and this is episode 13, Coaching You into Action Around Obstacles. So I send surveys to my clients periodically, and I gather information from them anonymously because I want them to feel like they can be very vulnerable and honest. And there are some themes around how women are feeling before my coaching programs. And those themes can be anywhere from people reporting that they feel imbalance, that they feel like they're taking on too much. One person said, I feel like I'm a hamster on a wheel. They're experiencing weight gain, overwhelm. They're having difficulty setting and achieving realistic goals in their health and life. And they report feeling like they're being too hard on themselves. And we all face obstacles when we're trying to do something new, and we tend to be hard on ourselves when we face that obstacle and we didn't follow through. And I want to focus on that today, how to get through those obstacles. In these surveys, women overwhelmingly report that what helped them by being in one of my coaching programs, the reason that my coaching made the difference is because it helped them learn how to take small steps and to do this in a no judgment zone. And of course, to have that accountability. So the no judgment, the being able to get curious instead of judgmental, is a very important part in helping us move forward with our health and life goals, whatever those goals might be. So in this episode, I'll be focusing on how I coach my clients around obstacles. And when I'm talking about coaching my clients around these obstacles, it's usually around an obstacle that they had that prevented them from following through with an action they said they were going to do. So it's a specific action that they agreed to take at the end of our last coaching call, or when they listen to my module if they're in the self-guided program. And when I'm talking about facing these obstacles, I'm breaking it down to mean what obstacle kept them from the follow through for that previous 7 days. But first, let me ask you, how do you respond to obstacles in your journey to living a healthier, more balanced life? What do you do when you come up against a roadblock? It's easy to get frustrated, right? It's easy to make excuses or to just simply give up when we don't succeed, when we aren't seeing the scale move in the direction we want it to, when we don't feel better, when we don't feel more balanced, in spite of taking some kind of action towards feeling that way or getting those results. When these roadblocks happen, when these obstacles pop up, we can either respond with judgment or shame or frustration, or we can simply get curious as to what got in the way. What are our roadblocks? Was it something out of our control that prevented us from following through with an action? Was it something we could have avoided that prevented us from following through? What did we learn from it, our lack of follow through, and how can we set ourselves up for success the next time? So I'm going to repeat this statement. What did we learn from not following through? And how can we set ourselves up for success the next time? So there will be a next time. We're going to continue to work towards this goal. We're going to continue to work towards feeling like we have more energy, to losing weight, to establishing habits of working out or eating whole foods, whatever it is. But when we face these obstacles, when, not if, when, we want to step back and learn from it, not just mull it over and ruminate on how we didn't do it. But we want to learn from it and figure out how we can set ourselves up for success the next time. We didn't just learn to walk right off the bat, right? We fell down, we got up again. We fell down, we got up again. In episode 8, I talked about the importance of forgiving ourselves if we didn't follow through with an action, or forgiving ourselves if we acted in a way that didn't really match with what we said we wanted in our health and life. For example, if I say I want to eat more whole foods, to cut out some processed foods, because based on what I've read or what I'm hearing, that's a change I want to make in my health to get a little healthier and more balanced. So let me sidestep for a second. This podcast and my coaching is all about helping you take simple steps to a healthier, more balanced life. It's about helping you move your own needle 1% closer to feeling healthier and more balanced, whatever that means in your own life, right? So many times I'm speaking in general about you taking action, but it depends on what your own specific goals are that you're taking action in. So let's step back and I'll give you some examples. If I say I want to eat more whole foods, but I don't go buy any whole foods, or I end up going through McDonald's drive-thru 3 or 4 times that week, then how do I respond to this obstacle of not eating whole foods 2 times that week or whatever I said I would do? How do I respond to this roadblock? Or if I say I want to work out more on the weekend or cook healthier meals on the weekend, but I end up on the couch on the weekend scrolling through my phone. How do I respond to this obstacle? How do I respond to my lack of follow-through? If I said I wanted to do my new workout video 4 times next week, or go to bed earlier 3 nights, or spend time organizing my spice drawer in the kitchen because they're falling out of my cabinet and it's a mess, whatever it is, right? Your own specific action. How do I respond if I didn't do it, if I didn't follow through? What happens when I face that obstacle? Do I quit? Do I start telling myself little stories about how I can never stick to anything, blah, blah, blah? I'm going to share how I coach my clients through this. So I help my clients stay in action because that's what happens to us, right? When we face that first obstacle or it's not going the way we envisioned, sometimes we just quit. So I help my clients to not quit, to stay in action. The right kind of action, which we've talked about, but I help my clients stay in action even when they face obstacles in doing that action, especially when they face obstacles. That's why the structure of my coaching programs is so important. The accountability to keep promises to yourself, the support when my clients need it, and coaching them around obstacles. Left on our own, oftentimes when we face obstacles, we tend to quit. And then we tell ourselves the negative story. You know what I'm talking about. Those little stories we tell ourselves about how we could never stick with it and we're not the kind of person that can eat this way or, whatever that might be. So how do I actually do this? How do I coach people when they're experiencing obstacles? I ask questions. Number 1 is, how did you do with your action steps from the week before or since our last call? So depending on the type of program that my clients are in, they would have either set an action step for 7 days, or some of my individual coaching packages are set up where maybe someone has a coaching call with me once a month or every 2 weeks, but we've set some sort of action for them to do, and I'm asking them about it. Or they're reporting on how they did with their action step, and I'm asking them in a video module that they got in their email, and you're listening to it, and I'm saying, how did you do on your action step? And you're writing it down, or you're answering it in your phone if we're not on a live call. So if they say they didn't complete their action step, or if you're listening to the module and you have to write down on your paper when I ask you that question over the video and you say no, then I want you to get curious as to why you didn't follow through and what got in the way. So if my client says, no, I did not complete my action step, because the very first question is just asking in a lovingly way, right? It's not judgmental. Did you complete your action step? And it's a yes or no. And right away, we want to get into the reasons why we didn't, right? Because we're already shaming ourselves. But no, we just determine if it was done or not, yes or no. We don't get judgmental. I keep them out of that judgy mindset. So instead of focusing on what didn't happen, we just simply report whether or not it happened. If they say yes, then yay, we celebrate that they followed through. Then, as you know, this gets that spark in their brain and they want to keep doing it over and over and over. If they say no, it didn't happen, then we don't get into the drama. We just get curious as to why it didn't happen. What got in the way? And this is simple. It could just be simple, right? It could be, I forgot. I forgot to do my action step. Or I didn't plan enough time to do it. Or someone else needed something. Or, I started to do it, but it seemed too hard. Or I did it a few times, but not the 5 times I committed to. So we get curious. We move into why. And again, it could be something as simple as I forgot. Likely these actions are not established habits. They're not things you normally do. That's why someone's coaching with me. They're not used to X, or they're getting the support to reach that goal. So doing whatever these actions are, sometimes we just forget. So we don't focus on the negative and start telling ourselves negative stories. We just get curious and look at why. And then we set ourselves up for success so that the reason it didn't happen doesn't happen the next 7 days. So if it's I forgot, then okay, what can we do so that you remember to do this? Let's be intentional. Put a reminder in your phone, put a Post-it note on your mirror or whatever. Also, stepping back and getting curious helps us see any patterns. So perhaps you're setting your action steps to be too difficult each week, or you're trying to go too far, too fast with your action. These are all things we've talked about in previous episodes. So maybe my client did the action, but not as frequently as they planned. Maybe they only did it 2 times and they said they were going to do it 4 times. And their old habits just took over and they forgot to do it the other 2 times. Again, maybe it's because they didn't put those reminders in their phone. They weren't intentional about doing it. We also need to learn that we can be flexible because obstacles will come up, right? Something will come up that might be out of our control. So maybe we put a pause on our action step and we do it the next day, or we alter it a little bit. Be flexible. Not, I couldn't do the action step exactly the way we planned it, so I just didn't do it. But we can change it. Maybe you alter it a little bit so that you can still have that success and follow through. You take the obstacle and you work with it. Maybe you need to be intentional about carving out time to do your action step. So again, we look at those themes to someone's obstacles as well. So if it's always the same thing, and with a lot of women, I'll tell you, especially in the beginning, it's usually that they're just not used to showing up for themselves. They're just not used to showing up for themselves to take the time to actually do whatever it is they said they wanted to do or work on. We can show up for everybody else, right? Our other responsibilities, our job, our kids, our spouse, our partner, whatever, our parents. But as soon as we need to follow through for ourselves, we put ourselves down at the bottom of the list. And we might just not be used to doing it. It's like, well, I didn't do my action step because I didn't end up with all this extra time to just think about myself. So maybe they plan to do that healthy meal or plan to do some self-care and just something else or someone else prevented them from doing it. And we get curious. No, you had time. You just used the time for something else. isn't that interesting? Let's step back and get curious. So we're not in a judgy way, we're just getting curious. Sometimes we have to step back with these obstacles and look at our motivation. And no judgment there. Maybe we're facing these obstacles and following through or in getting these results because maybe we're not really that motivated to actually do these things. So we might have to ask ourselves, how important is it for you to have more energy? How important is it for you to lose a few pounds? How important is it for you to get more sleep? And again, we're getting curious. We're not judging. And maybe it's not that important. Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being it's so important, 1 being not important at all, maybe the losing the weight is like, oh, I wish I could lose a few pounds, or I wish I had more energy, or I wish I was sleeping better. But on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it's a 2 or a 3 or a 4. Maybe it's not that important to us. Maybe we need to shift our actions and our goals to something else then that is important to us. And sometimes my clients will realize that as they've gone through, like, oh, now that I'm working through this or listening to your modules on these different topics, I'm realizing that what is really important to me is this. So I'm going to start setting action steps for that, not this other area. I'll get to that later. Maybe we need to be reminded of why we wanted what we said we wanted in the first place, right? Asking those questions like, what's important about losing weight? What's important about having better sleep? Why is that important to you? What happens if you don't get this result in a year? What happens if you don't get it in 5 years or 10 years? Again, no judgment. Sometimes we just need to step back and see if this is really important to us. And I've given an example in a previous episode on how I was wishing I had more sleep for a while, really just wishing. I wasn't really being intentional about setting action steps and following through. So on a 1 to 10, it probably wasn't that important. I was facing some obstacles, and until I really stepped back and said, okay, is this important to me or not? Once it became more important, I became more intentional, and it was easier to follow through with those action steps. For a while, I've been saying, I'm getting out of balance with my eating energy-giving foods. I've gained some weight and, I want to work on this, but it wasn't really that motivating for me to do it until just a few weeks ago. So I kept having what I thought were these obstacles. Well, it was really because I wasn't that motivated to do it. Maybe the thing that we said we wanted to do, we really just thought it's something we should be doing, but maybe it's not the right time for us right now. Or maybe self-sabotage is our obstacle, right? And that kind of goes back to showing up for ourselves. And I'll be doing a whole series on self-sabotage. So I do these free consultation calls with people, and I love that because part of that is just the two of us getting curious on the phone, not judgmental, and me helping you see what actually is important for you right now. Uncovering that so that you can be clear on what changes in your health and life you'd like to make. But getting back to self-sabotage takes on many forms. And a lot of times when I'm coaching people around these obstacles, it does come back to that self-sabotage, which is basically, I say I want one thing, but my actions are not reflecting that. My thoughts aren't reflecting that either. And so we coach through those obstacles around self-sabotage. Remember, there are 3 steps to building that healthier, more balanced life you deserve. Step 1 is take the right kind of action. Step 2 is check your thoughts. And step 3 is get the right kind of accountability and support. And sometimes those obstacles come from not setting the right kind of action for yourself. But a lot of times those obstacles come from our thoughts and that self-sabotage, right? Or that we really don't believe that we can do the action. I really don't deep down believe that I can end up meal planning or exercising or whatever it is. So our actions are going against the story we're telling ourselves. And that creates obstacles. So the other thing we need to do is we need to just get comfortable with the obstacles because they're going to happen, whether the obstacles are your thoughts or that you're setting your actions too difficult. So if you continue to face obstacle after obstacle around your goals, then let's look at how you're setting your goals and your actions, right? Are you doing all the things we talked about in previous episodes? Are you setting specific goals? Are you doing small steps? Are you keeping track? Are you making your action pleasurable? Do you have someone to be accountable to? Are you forgiving yourself when it doesn't happen? So that having someone to be accountable to is huge. And that's why I'm here to offer you my coaching programs and my coaching services so you can overcome these obstacles and not try to do this on your own. Are you checking your thoughts so they're not negative? Are you celebrating the small wins? Coaching my clients around obstacles requires me helping them to step back and get curious. And we're not used to doing that. We're used to just getting into the mind drama. We need to get out of the mind drama and see how we can overcome the obstacles. And also, we need to understand that obstacles are a part of the process. It's okay to have obstacles. Once you're even comfortable with the fact that you're going to have some obstacles, that's huge. Like, not, oh, I just faced this obstacle, now I'm just going to give up. This isn't going to work for me. I tried that, it didn't work. Have you ever done that? I know I have. When it seems like I'm facing obstacles, or maybe I had a few days where I didn't follow through or didn't do whatever, it's like I've fallen off the wagon and I'm just going to quit. There are no wagons. Let me just offer that. There's no falling off the wagon. Like, I've got to keep from falling off the wagon. There are no wagons and you didn't fall off of one. You simply faced an obstacle. So step back and let that area of your brain that problem solves take over so that you can move forward. Don't let the other area of your mind drama brain take over and say, oh, if I screwed up once, I can't do it. I'm just going to give up. You'll never make it to your desired outcome. So instead, let's step back and see what caused the obstacle and how we can set ourselves up for success. And once you are successful with even the tiniest step, you'll see that obstacles are something that you overcome on your way to the result. They don't stop the result from happening unless we let the obstacle stop us. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter how many times you've tried something in the past. This is a new start. Each day is a new start. Let go of that old story of, I can never lose the weight, I can never be consistent, I don't think I'll ever feel relaxed at work. I invite you to let go of all the old stories. Write them down and then rip it up and throw it away. You tell yourself about your past obstacles with you trying to lose weight, or your past obstacles with you trying to eat healthier, or your past obstacles with you trying to do more self-care. The story we tell ourselves when the obstacle comes up is huge. So step back and rewrite that story. I help my clients rewrite that story, literally, and get curious as I coach you through the obstacles. What got in the way? Is the obstacle time? Is the obstacle your thoughts? Is the obstacle your old habits? Is the obstacle that you just forgot to do the thing you said you were going to do that week? I mean, it's okay. Sometimes it's simple. We don't need to overcomplicate the obstacles either. Is your obstacle that you are trying to do too much? Is your obstacle that it's not really that big of a priority for you? Okay, so what's your biggest obstacle to the goals and results that you want right now? Is it that you're not planning meals? Is it that you're not setting your alarm to get up to go to the gym? Is it that you're not sticking to a bedtime routine? Is it not believing that you are worth the time in your day to do these things? Now we've just shifted from the simple to the deep, right? Is it not believing on some level that you're not worth it? Get curious, not judgmental. Tell your brain that obstacles are going to happen and don't freak out when they do. Take the right kind of action. I can teach you how to do that. Check your thoughts. I can teach you how to do that. And get the right kind of accountability and support. I can provide you with that. If you'd like to take a free training on how all of these 3 things come together at once, then go to my show notes and sign up for my free workshop. You can also check out my coaching programs and services. Until next time, keep it simple, keep it real, and keep getting curious when you face an obstacle. And I'll catch you in the next episode.